Hey man, good to see you again.
Yeah, you too. I think it's the third time we've met in
I
London.
know,
Um,
I know.
I'll get started. I really loved the series. I mean, it must be such good fun playing the same character with a kind of decades difference between them. I'm sure that's probably something not many actors get the chance to do. But do you go to the effort of kind of filling in the gaps of what happened in between, or are you just more focused on what's on the page?
Yeah, I mean, we really like me and Chantel. We have the most, she's an absolute overachiever. So she's written journals for every year, and I kind of just let it rip. I think I read it was forget what university it was. It was an American university that had done this very comprehensive study on personality, and they'd done it over 40 years. And their conclusion was that we basically become a new person every 10 years. And we do are like we are completely regenerated in terms of cells and but also that our personality is so different that if you look at a person with 10 years increments, they are so different that they're basically a different person. And that becomes very relevant for us in doing this. And um, but I because the writing is different and I'm very physical in the way that I approach the profession. So I start with where how the body has changed and how my posture has changed, how my how my gait, how my walking has changed, and maybe if there's like some new tensions built up somewhere, and that kind of informs me of the shifts, and because I think the shifts are also they're very much in the mind. Yeah, so I definitely don't. I'm not sitting like writing journals like Chantel, but I think I approach it more in a physical manner, and then we let the writing guide us.
So, do you reckon you're a different person to you were 10 years ago?
Oh yeah, fuck. Yeah. So I'd moved to the States. I've been here for about 1 year. Yeah, wow. It's what a horror show. I mean, it's so different. Like the perspective is so different. My perspective then and my perspective now is so different. Um, and yeah, I was a very insecure person. I was, yeah. I'm very much a different person. Yeah, very different.
And in this, Ed really has to kind of navigate his way around the kind of balance between following his passions and dreams, but also being present for his family. Is that something as an actor you can relate to, doing a job that kind of requires you be away for kind of long periods of the year?
Yeah, for sure, and it's becoming more and more the case. I still don't have kids, but now sort of in the family building process, and I think that I think much more in those kind of terms of building a foundation for my family in general, and then and also for like my family for generations to come. That's sort of one of my goals in life, to create security for the bigger family.
Of course, my final question in this, you're playing a parent who this the most unimaginable thing happens where they lose their child, of course, and obviously you have a responsibility to people who have been through the same thing to do justice to the character and to their experience. But given it's such a difficult thing to carry around with you, do you almost have to create a barrier or like a disconnect between yourself and what the character's going through, just for the sake of your own mind?
No, 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 no. That's not how it works. I try to remove the barrier as much as possible, and I try to consume myself with that feeling and the and I'm filling myself with all these stories and these people and I welcome that feeling of responsibility towards them, because for me that is really what gets me there, and that feeling of responsibility towards them allows me in some odd way to sort of channel their emotion, because I feel I have to, because I'm not gonna uh, give a unworthy portrayal of that pain that they're going through. That's sort of what I'm telling myself. So it's absolutely not creating a barrier. But you know, I think I have a suspicion that Shantel, for example, she goes much more into her own trauma. That's what I sort of see when I glance at her. She goes into her own trauma, like past lived trauma, to get to those feelings. So I can tell that you know affects her much more for a longer period of time. For me, it's like I fill myself with those emotions, and then you know they kind of come out, and then when it's done, I've gone through a catharsis, and I don't feel really weighed down when I walk home there. I mean, I feel affected, but more affected like you've had after a big fight or a big, you know, a big emotional day, and then you can almost feel, you know, light from that after. It really is cathartic, so you feel somewhat cleansed after. The hardest is actually when you're playing something when you have all these like really difficult feelings, like feeling of you know hate and sadness, and the character never lets it out. So you're just like filling yourself with all these feelings, but then you don't let it out. Then it can be a difficult couple of days afterwards because you just have all this stuff inside of you that's kind of wreaking havoc on you.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, thanks so much for your time again today, Joel. It's always a pleasure. I love hearing about your process. It always fascinates me.
Oh,
All right.
very cool. Yeah. It's always a pleasure talking to you.
So take care. Bye bye.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hey You Guys!
Hey You Guys, huh?
Hey, you guys.
Is that from the Goonies?
It is indeed, yeah.
Nice.
Hey,